Hey everybody, welcome back to the Why So Random podcast. Um, Topic of conversation today is something different, something very different. Um, I'm not sure how many people have this type of conversation, but I tell you what, it comes up a lot with me. Um, so I was at work the other day, and I get a me and the guys have a lot of these conversations. Um, it just it intrigues us, right? So, the other day I was at work and the night was pretty slow. And I had a buddy, he come up to me out of the random and he asked me um in front of the other guys, and he asked if they were putting together a ship to go to Mars tonight. Um he asked if I would go. And he threw in the idea that it'd be the first ever ship with humans to go to Mars. He asked if I would go. And I didn't hesitate at all. I told him quick that I would absolutely go. I would absolutely go. Um, and he threw in the scenario. I think, I don't know. I think he just kind of wanted to pick my brain a little bit. He threw in the scenario that if it left tomorrow, would I go tomorrow? Um, that's a tougher question, right? I mean, with a family, my kids being very young still, would I go? Um, I don't know. I think at first impulse, I'd probably still say yes, but I'm not sure, right? So, um, I threw it out and I told him, I said, look, I'd go. I'd go. I mean, I would go. Um, if my kids were a lot older, it would definitely be a much easier answer. Um, for the simple fact that they would be older, and I mean, as they got older, they wouldn't. See, I don't know how to answer that question, right? Or I don't know exactly how to say this, because I believe kids will always need us. Our kids will always need us, regardless of age. I think it'd just be. I would like to think that it would be a lot easier answered, um, if they were older. As they're young now, it's an extremely difficult choice. It's just a scenario, right? So he's throwing out scenarios. If I would go to Mars, yeah, I think I would, especially if I was the first one. Um, that'd be. I mean, if it sounds selfish, it sounds selfish, right? It would be. It would just be part of the history of mankind. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. You know, man on the moon, right? Well, their names will forever go down in history. And I don't even know if it's about having your name in lights, right? I don't even know if it's about that. I think it's the legacy you would leave behind, not only for your name but for your kids' names, and knowing that they were a part of something big, and that their dad was a part of something big. Um, for mankind, right? So with that, I think it's a difficult topic of conversation, right? So you know for a fact that it's most likely a one-way trip. Now, could you imagine though if in 10 years, if in 10 years, we'll go 10 years, play scenario, right? If in 10 years they have the technology enough to sit there and be like, all right, we can fly you out for 6 months, get you to land on Mars, do 2-3 years worth of work, and come back 6 months, or maybe even a faster way back. doesn't take 6 months, because I believe scientists say now it takes 6 months to get to Mars for what we have. And that's, I mean, half a year is kind of a long time, right? I mean, some of the things you got to deal with, you're just the maintaining of the ship and the maintaining of cargo. You have to be on a strict diet. You're just in space for 6 months before you arrive to Mars, only to be surrounded by maybe the 1 or 2, 3, 4 person crew that you have. If anybody else goes, I would imagine somebody would have to at least tag along. But with the idea that, just the psychological aspect of it, right? Being alone, knowing that you're far from home and you're out in the middle of dead space, it's just so hard to comprehend, right? It's just a 6 month trip, I think, would be mentally, I almost believe that it would mentally destroy, right? It'd almost have to. I don't believe that as well. See, I don't know, because then you got people, well, that's different, right? I was going to say, you got people on the the ISS, International Space Station, right? They're up there for, a good amount of time. And you have to think, obviously they're not alone. I believe they got other crew members with them. And they're up there for, I don't know, I think one's been up there for a year, right? I think. What's his, I can't remember his name. I know his name, but not off the top of my head. But, I mean, they're up there for, 120 days or stuff like that. And so, 3 months is, or 4 months, that's, up in space. I mean, people can do it, but the ISS orbits above Earth, not too very far away, right? You're not going somewhere. You're in orbit, and you're doing what you need to be doing, and you could see Earth underneath you. So maybe it doesn't make you feel too homesick to the idea that, I don't know. Have you guys ever, I don't know, maybe, I guess I'm asking, right? Have you guys ever walked out in the middle of the night, out of your home, in the complete darkness, looked up and noticed an orangish, brownish star in the sky? Probably, see here where I'm at, it pops up at maybe 1, 2 in the morning, maybe midnight, more or less, right in the middle of the sky. You look right up, brownish, orangish looking star. That's Mars. Okay, that's Mars. And just to see it as a colored star in the sky, it just it takes you away, because down here, when you look at it, it doesn't seem too far away, right? I mean, it's so hard to comprehend that distance. I think it's so hard to wrap your mind around, because you can see it. It's not close, but you also have to, I guess you have to keep in mind how big a planet really is. Now, Mars, I believe, is smaller than Earth. I think so. Yeah. But if you can still see it in the night sky as a decent sized little star, I think it's so hard to think that that's 6 months. You're looking at time as distance. Does that make sense? Like, when you look at the first couple stars that usually pop up, or giant stars that are really planets that pop up, is usually Saturn and Jupiter, right off the rip. Then you get Mars, and then depending on the part of the morning that you're in, you get Venus. And Venus is the brightest one. Right early in the morning, you see it right around, I guess, like I said, it just depends on where you're at on the planet, right? For me, it comes up right around 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:15ish. I can see Venus, and it's definitely brighter, and it's definitely a little bigger than Mars, but they're in the sky at the same time. So when I get home, I look up, and I can see both of them in the sky. A little bit of, obviously, distance apart, but if I can see them in the morning, then I can see both planets. And you could just stare and get lost with the idea of, like, man, just what if, right? So if I can see Mars, it's just like that thing, like, it's, if you can see it, you believe it more, right? So, but it's what blows my mind, right, is that I'm looking at distance. I'm looking at time in distance. So there's a visual. I don't know. It's just something about, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's complicated, right? So looking at Mars, I can visually see that amount of distance. But for how big a planet is, it doesn't seem like that's 6 months away if I can see it up there, right? But it goes the same. I mean, if you see Jupiter, which is further away, and you see Saturn, which is even further away from Jupiter, but you can see Jupiter as a decent-sized star and Saturn as just a smaller star than that next to it, then that's also mind-blowing too, right? Because you're halfway through the solar system at that point. But you can visually see halfway through our solar system with the naked eye. And that's not even I mean, you can't even talk about a telescope, right? Because if you talk about a telescope, then you see it much closer, and you could visually see a planet through a telescope. But that's different, right? Because you can't. It's just something about seeing something with the naked eye that makes it more. It has to blow you away, right? So, with the idea that I can see Mars, that's probably why I can say yes, because it's like being on the ISS and looking underneath you and seeing Earth, knowing that I'm not too far away. But to think, though, that Mars is 6 months away, if I could come back, then yes, I think for sure I would go. And I don't think I'd hesitate to answer. I think it'd be like right off the rip, yes. I think for me, space exploration it drives my imagination. It just, that kind of stuff inspires me to I don't know, to do projects. I mean, I write scripts for little short films or it just depends on what kind of project I want to do. And then hopes to one day convert those to actual pieces. But my inspiration for writing scripts, whether it's for a miniseries, a TV show, whatever it is that comes to my head, the reason I write is because of, in the back of my mind, it's always about space exploration. Like, I have like this deep, like this, I don't even know, like this deep want to actually be part of that, to be part of a space exploration, which is why I think I've always loved space. I mean, I don't know, as a kid, I can't remember. I'm sure my parents could probably answer that. Maybe they don't know. I don't know. But I think that's probably where my love for Star Wars came in too, right? The idea that you see all these worlds in this movie, in the movie franchise, you got all these worlds that you see, and it's just that same, like that, like, wow, like, if people can make these worlds into a reality, as far as being, in TV and making it part of something, just think about the idea that, like, not saying that any of these worlds from Star Wars exist, but I mean, if you look at our galaxy alone, excuse me, if you look at our galaxy alone, it's massive, right? And we're just a little part of, we're just a little part of it, right? We're on the edge of our galaxy. There's such a distance between the middle of it or the opposite end of it, that from where we're from. And like I said, if you can look into the sky and see Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter, okay, if you could see 4 out of our total planets, I mean, and just with your naked eye, right? Just with your naked eye, you look up at the stars at night, and you could see these planets, right? And I already, like I said, you can see that's half our solar system, right? You can visually see half our solar system with your naked eye, and to be able to see half of it, with your naked eye, it has to It has to sit in how small we are, right? How close everything for how close everything feels, really, even though it's not close, right? Because I think, what is it? I think Jupiter's 84 million miles away. Let me look that up real quick. I have to know. Now that I'm talking about it, I have to know. Jupiter distance. Wow, I was way off. All right, the distance from Earth to Jupiter, 402 million miles. Okay, and let's just do something for shits and giggles, right? Saturn distance. Saturn is almost double that, right? It's 928 million miles away, right? And if I were to say Mars is 51 million miles away. So if Mars is 51 million miles away, and that's a 6-month distance, Jupiter, I mean, I don't believe we have any intentions on taking anybody to Jupiter, but I believe that at some point, maybe that might just be kind of like a flyby planet, right? You know, if we're heading out further than that maybe that's something I'm sure that people would want to see on the way out, right? Let's just say about 100 years out. 100 years out, we have technology to fly through space with no issue. Saturn and Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, like all of those most likely will be, desired spots to fly by. 100%. There's no way we don't. But anyways, getting off topic. Just knowing the distance, right? If I can visually see 1 billion miles away, Saturn, tiny little dot in the sky, if I can visually see that with the naked eye, just think about how massive that planet is. To visually see it from 1 billion miles away, almost 1 billion miles, I'll be correct there, almost 1 billion miles away. Just think about how massive that is and how small we really are. Us as humans with our naked eyes, that just how small we really are. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us, I can't even see down the road without my vision getting real blurry. But we can see a planet with our naked eye as a star in the sky in the middle of the night on a clear night sky. I can see Venus, I can see Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. If Uranus was close enough, I'm sure we could see Uranus. I know it's up there. I've never been able to naked eye visually see it. I think it's just too far, and I think it appears as a tiny, tiny blue dot. But that's it, right? But I mean, like, it's crazy because you get past the asteroid belt, and I know the asteroid belt isn't some kind of massive thing, right? I mean, it's not something that should be blocking our vision from other planets. I know it's not. It's just an asteroid belt. And I think it depends on where we're at and the rotation and our the way we revolve around the sun throughout the year. I think it's got everything to do with that. Regardless, anyways. But Mars, to come back to Mars, 51 million miles away, and I can see it in the sky, and you guys can too. As an little orange dot in the sky. That's 51 million miles, and it's the distance, right? You're able to visually see time in distance. So for a lot of you astrophotographers out there and I've got a buddy actually who takes certain pictures like this sometimes, not of planets, but he does take a picture. He takes a couple pictures of the Milky Way galaxy. If you can, that's one of my goals for sure, is to visually see the Milky Way galaxy with my own eyes in the night sky. I don't want to see it through pictures. If I could take my own picture, that's fine, whatever. But I want to visually see it myself. I couldn't even imagine what that would feel like, honestly. Just the type of perspective that would put things in, right? So, like, it's so hard. I think maybe for me, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but maybe for me, that this kind of thing just, I don't know, it just scrambles my mind with the idea that down here on Earth, we find ourselves to be very big. But in the grand scheme of things, we're like in the entirety of what things are, we are just so small. We are just so small. And I want to feel that feeling. I want to feel that feeling of being so small in something so much bigger than we think, bigger than what we know. Because down here, and our point of views, it varies on how much money we have and what kind of lifestyle we're living, and a bunch of other key things that make you feel like you're so much bigger than everything else, and people are not. Like, you're not. People are not. I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel small, because then I take in everything. I take in everything. I can take in everything with a clearer view, and I'm not losing sight of what's important. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how you can feel. I don't know how you're blind with the idea that you're so much bigger than most people and still be able to take in, things worth of value, and life itself, or the idea that we're able to create other little humans and call them your own, and just the grand scheme of life. You know what I'm saying? Just everything in general. But it all starts with up there. Like it all starts with up there. And I think when and I don't mean to get corny on people, but I don't mean to get corny on you guys. I really don't. Like, I don't want it to sound like, ooh, look, well, no. But when you look up at the stars, you got to know we're part of something bigger, right? You got to know we're a part of something bigger. And I think it's going to take hundreds, if not thousands of years to know for sure. But if you ask yourself, if you could be part of that first step, would you? Because I think I would. But that's because I have this desire to know, and this love, this passion to want to be part of that. I want to be part of that exploration. I want to physically be part of that exploration. I want to be the guy that lands somewhere else. Not to say, oh yeah, look at me. No. I just think because I have that desire to know, and that love for the idea of leaving the love for the idea of leaving Earth and exploring something else, something that no one else has before, and just finding, I don't even know, like maybe not even leaving, right? Maybe just to know that, like, now they have pictures of other worlds in detail or something. Not now, clearly, right? Because I don't think we're capable of that just yet. But, like we can see pictures of Mars, but Mars doesn't look any different than, like, I don't know, the Mojave Desert or this, something, it doesn't look any different than the Grand Canyon or something. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff here on Earth that we can compare it to. But I think, like, it's like it's like with the rovers on Mars, and there's another one going there now. Like, we can see parts of another world, and I think that right there is groundbreaking enough. But it's like, what if outside our solar system, excuse me, what if outside our solar system, right? Like, it's a long ways, right? We can visually see the Milky Way, though. I feel like if we can visually see it, then we know we can get there. If you can visually see the Milky Way in the middle of the night sky, and knowing, like, I mean, there's pictures to prove it. I mean, clearly, right? So if you can visually see it, though, with your own eye, I think that would give you a different perspective. I believe that's what gets people. That's why people are out there doing the things they're doing, right? They're getting us to different planets. They're getting us to the moon. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's so deep, for real. It's deep. And to come full circle, my buddy was asking me if I would go. I told him yes, I would go. Just flat out, I would go. I want to be the first person to step on Mars. Is that going to happen? Probably not. Okay, probably not. I'm going to have to live with the idea of just being able to see pictures. But in my lifetime, I believe we will get full video, full pictures, full resolution of somebody being on Mars. A group of people, whether that's through SpaceX, through NASA, through a different government agency that is soon to come, I don't know. I believe we'll get there. Side note, off topic. I believe in about 100 to 150 years, we will all have our own space armies, our own branch of military that is dedicated to the space program alone. And we will all have Star Wars-like battles. From down Earth, where all us poor little scum people are going to be looking up at the stars and seeing laser beams and flying cars and who knows what else we'll see up there, fighting amongst each other to own who knows what the fuck they want to own later on. I believe that's part of the Space Force that Trump is currently got in motion. I believe Russia's not too far behind, North Korea, China. I believe that in the next 100 years, we will be looking up in the skies and seeing space wars, space battles going down. And it's going to be, I think it'll be a lot like looking at a firework display from a distance. Anyways, sorry, didn't mean to get off topic there. But yes, I would go. I'd go to Mars. If I was playing the scenario, I believe I'm not mentally capable of something like that for 6 months being by myself, away from my family. But I think if there was a way for me to overcome every obstacle as far as the mental health and the physical health and just knowing that, the distance could and the timing of it could all be a big issue. And then knowing that I have to be on planet Mars for a year or two, and that's only to get half of the work done before they send somebody else over. You know what I'm saying? I'm just playing that scenario. I think I would most likely, for sure, most definitely 100% do it. And I don't know many people that would. Personally, I don't know many people that would. But I just feel like I want to be a part of something like that. Primarily for the idea of wanting to know more. The exploration part of it. You know what I'm saying? I have this want and need to see something. I want to see a different planet down on its surface. All right. Not Mars, because I've seen Mars we've been able to see Mars for a while now. But even then that's mind blowing, right? Because we're on a different planet. In the year 2020, we're on a different planet, and I believe we'll most likely be up there in the next 20 years for sure. I'd like to say 10. All right. That's Elon Musk's idea, is that he wants to put astronauts or send the first humans to Mars in 2030. The idea to think that we'll have humans on Mars in 10 years, right? Like, I'll be 37. That's 10 years isn't very far away, which sucks because, my kids are little still. And a lot of us would probably like to keep our kids little. 10 years from now, a lot of them are graduating high school. So, different topic, different day. But the idea that in 10 to 15, 20 years that we'll have people on Mars is already mind-blowing in itself. Just the advancement in technology is just, it's so hard to keep up. It's so hard for us to mentally keep up with something like this, right? Everybody's got something going on, right? So not all of us, excuse me, not all of us have, the want or the time on our hands or whatever to keep up with that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I think for a lot of people, if we get to Mars, cool, whatever, but I ain't going, you know what I'm saying? It's probably something like that. But man, just for what it would mean in the just the overall spectrum of things, what that would mean. And I think it's already enough for some people just to be able to visually see it. For me though, it's just like, man, I want to let me grab a pile of dirt, man. Let me grab a pile of dirt from Mars. Or, if we can find a fucking wormhole somewhere and go to, I don't know, whatever planets they have found that look like Earth. Let me take a drink of that water or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, I don't know, man, just the desire to know. That desire to know for sure. I'm not going to get on the topic of conversation of, are we alone or not? Because that is a whole different hour. It might even be a 2-hour conversation because that's a desire in itself. But just to come full circle on what my buddy was asking, yes, I would go. And I think that's the conversation started right there, right? Would you guys go? I think I might know a few people that would go. My buddy told me he wouldn't go. But a lot of people feel like they don't know the purpose of that, or maybe they feel like they have too much here to lose, and maybe that's the case. But I think I can't say anything's bigger than my kids, because there's nothing bigger than my kids. But in the bigger spectrum of things, I think that for all of us, it's always something bigger, right? So, I don't know, 51 million miles away, man. 6 months. Hell, just to go to the Earth, just to go to the moon, that's 3 days. Think about that. All right, the moon is what I think 4 or 5 times smaller than Earth, right? Or maybe even smaller than that. I don't really know for sure. But the moon is 265,000 miles distance from Earth. And that's a 3-day trip, right? I think a lot of us would probably that'd be a much easier decision, right? Oh, to go to the moon and back? Yeah, why not? 3 days. That ain't gonna take long, but it's the idea, okay, 3 days to be on something that isn't alive, right? It's just the moon. You can see it. And the moon is a major part of what we are, right? The moon the moon and the sun, biggest things, the biggest parts of our life here on Earth, right? But for me, that for me is not an easy decision, I don't think. I have this desire, this want to know more, to be space exploration and stuff like that. I'm not saying I want to be a space explorer. I'm just saying, like, that desire and that want for something bigger than what we have here on Earth. I think that's what's driving me to say yes and yes and yes. I would probably most likely go to the moon if I was offered that. If they have space tourism later on in the next decade or so, then yeah, most likely that'd be the hottest destination, right? No one's going any further than that. Maybe they revolve around Earth for 2-3 days, whatever, right? But moon is going to be the hottest place, right? I'm talking about the moon right now, like that's Vegas or LA or something, right? So, but I think that's a stepping stone for sure, right? So you get to the moon, you get people to the moon, you get them back, blah, 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 blah. We know what we're doing. Okay, so then what's next? Mars, right? That's going to be the next big thing. And the biggest thing about that is people are going to be living on Mars. People are going to be living on Mars, all right? We're going to call something else home eventually, right? I don't believe it's going to be like the movies, right, where all the rich leave and leave the poor behind and it turns into some wasteland down here on Earth. I don't believe that to be true. But it's the idea behind it. Like, we're going to call something else home eventually. Whether that means the whole planet or not, I don't know. But that's going to be the next step, right? It'll be the moon first. We'll go to the moon. We'll go visit the moon. We'll do our thing, right? I think that might be, I don't even know, man. If you want to talk about sending people to Mars in 10 years, you got to send people to the moon first, right? Stepping stones, baby steps. But whatever, I'm not the SpaceX geniuses or NASA geniuses, so I don't know for sure, but I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I just know that I'm a regular fucking dude with a desire to know more and a desire to see more and to be part of, maybe one of these days be part of something like that. I don't know. Or maybe I'm the guy that makes up these worlds just like George Lucas did, right? Maybe I'm that guy. Maybe that's the key, right? So yes, I'd go. He told me he wouldn't go, but I think he hesitated. I think maybe he also has that want and desire to know for sure too. Like, I think he wants to know just as much as anybody else. He wants to see and to feel and to touch as much as anybody else. It's almost like engraved in our DNA, right? To know, I think that's why a lot of us will say, are we alone? We need, like, people don't need to know. I think subconsciously we want to know. And a lot of us don't know how to not sound crazy saying shit like that. But hey, this is the year 2020, right? So if we're going to know anything, it's almost time to know for sure. And I believe the government is working the government is working its way into letting us know for sure. And I think they've known for a while, and now it won't be long before we know. 100%. Whether that's the next 5 years, the next 2 years, the next decade, eventually we're going to know for sure if we're alone or not. And I don't know if it's going to come as a big surprise to people. Like, I don't think it's going to be like, the world is ending or whatever, aliens, whatever the fuck. No, I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's definitely going to be something like, well, we kind of knew. All right, well, show us, I think it's going to be something like that. And then the memes will pop off like a motherfucker, right? So, I don't know. I just think that's kind of old news, right? I just think the next big thing is to send people out, man. That for sure is going to be the next biggest thing, is send people out to Mars. Sending people out to Mars, and either one, keeping them there, or two, starting projects. If, not a crazy conspiracy guy, if we're not already there. Okay, I don't want to throw something like that in anybody's face, but to sound like a conspiracy theorist or a mad guy or anything, but if we are not already on the moon, or if we're not already in Mars, you know what I'm saying? And the distraction is the Curiosity rover. The distraction to say, well, we're not finding anything on Mars. Here's this rover to prove it. Here's all these panoramic pictures and all these pano views of Mars and stuff like that. I don't know. A lot of people say we have a secret military base on the moon. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people say that. They have this theory behind on why we're still there, and that after the 69 landing that we went back. A lot of people believe we never went back. A lot of people believe that we never were there in the first place. Well, you see, that's a different topic of conversation, right? That's a whole nother segment. But it's the idea behind it. Like, okay, if we're there now, then we're a lot further along than we think. It's hard for me to believe that we're on the moon right now, or that we're at Mars. But again, we don't know, right? The government has kept so much secrets from us for a long ass time. 6 months to travel somebody to Mars isn't a long time. It is in the idea that you have to live on a spacecraft for 6 months, right? I'm sure that would fucking be mentally exhausting, but 6 months though isn't a long time, right? And if I can see Mars with a naked eye, then it puts it into better perspective as far as, okay, I'm not too far away. I am, but I'm not, right? But it's just one of those things. Like, if we're not already there, but if we're not already there, and we're working our way to getting there, like, man, it'll be a monumental feat for sure. And who knows? Anyways, with the idea behind it, it's going to be one of those things for sure. Like, when we start making those moves, right? When we start getting people into space and stuff like that, I think it'll come as a much easier answer for people, right? It'll be one of those things where, would you like to go? Some people, most probably, yeah. I think more people would most likely say yes. You ask them now, because of the unknown, if we could even do it, most likely people say no. But you're going to find 1 or 2% of people that might say yes, like me. Why they would do it, everybody's got a different reason, right? But I think reasoning is not not the important part. I think it's the idea behind it. Like, yo, this is a part of history, man. The part of history for mankind. And your name will forever be attached to it. And it's not talking about putting names in lights or anything. It's just the idea that you got to be a part of something bigger than anything ever known to mankind. But if we're not already there, right? Secretly, somebody on Mars right now fucking putting up tents and who knows what else, right? Or building a facility where we can obtain power by the sun and whatnot. Who knows? Who knows, man? Who knows? And it's just crazy. I mean, and there's probably life on Mars right now that we just haven't seen yet, or they know is there, it just won't show us, maybe they believe our little people minds are not, maybe they're not capable of, taking that type of information in and being able to comprehend it or something. I don't know. It's hard to even comprehend outer space in general, distance and light years. And, it's so hard to fathom that kind of idea that, it's just hard. And to tell people that there's life on other planets, I think, I don't know. Maybe I would like to think that we were all going to say, nah, yeah, all right, we kind of knew it, but, or maybe I still believe it won't come to us as a surprise, but I just think it's going to be hard for people to grasp what that means. You understand? Like it's one thing to know. It's another thing to understand what that means in the grand scheme of things, in the overall spectrum of what life is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying I do, because I don't, and I think that's why I want to know more, so I can help myself comprehend, to help myself fathom that idea, right? You can look up at the stars and see a planet and just imagine what that's like. To be up there on that planet looking down here, to see a little blue dot in the distance, knowing that, hey, there's people over there. There's humans on that planet there. You can sit there, you can imagine that, you can get real deep into your own rabbit hole on that, right? But I don't know if we would, it's just the feeling you would get from that, right? If we completely understood or completely comprehended that idea. And I don't think we're capable of that. But I think that's why a lot of us have that desire, that yearn to know, to want to know, or to want to be able to visually see with our own eyes, or, and I think that's where a lot of us might be at. Some of us, and I wouldn't say a lot of us, some of us for sure. But for sure, man, I'd go to Mars. I'd for sure go to Mars. Send me up there with a Cybertruck in 10 years, or whatever the fuck Elon's got planned in 10 years. Send me up there with one of those in one of those nice little spacesuits. I'll go. 100%. 100% I'll go. Yeah. That was to answer his question for sure. We have a lot of these conversations a lot at work. Well, not every day, right? But we do have these kind of in-depth conversations. It's a lot of times I could tell, like when he's asking me, he wants to know. My buddy wants to know. He wants to obtain some kind of knowledge about space, and I know he's the kind of guy too that doesn't understand what he's looking at when he's looking up. And maybe, I would like to think that scientists know too, but man, why does it feel like it's unknown to everybody? But that's because it is, right? So scientists have a better idea of what they're looking at. Us lower people on the totem pole are definitely looking up at the sky, thinking of not how we can get there, but what if we do get there, right? So the scientists are doing the hard work on how do we get there, or how do we get closer to something bigger. And everybody else, I think, I like to believe, is up looking at the sky, thinking, all right, well, what if we get there? What next? You know what I'm saying? What next? What am I going to, what is the purpose of all of this? I think that's that's just it, right? That's just it. The idea behind it is the purpose of all of it, right? So if we all believe in destiny, right, is we are destined, I'm sure, to find another planet with life on it. Are we destined to get there? I don't know. Is that 4 or 5, 6 generations down the road that does that kind of monumental feat? I don't know. But I think it's baby steps for sure. But I think we will always be asking questions until we know for sure. And I think that's going to be the frustrating part, because there's always going to be questions with no answers. So, I don't know. Again, this won't be the last time I have this conversation with anybody. I like talking about it though, man. I like picking people's brains and they're picking mine, and we all have different perspectives on what it all means or what it doesn't all mean, and what we think might happen or might not happen, or, you know, to talk about the future is a big thing, right? You know, a lot of people, they're not worried about what the future holds. Some people are. I kind of am. I like to know where we're going. Right now, it doesn't seem very promising, but I'm sure at some point something's got to turn around, right? So it's the idea behind it. You know, there's always something bigger and better down the road for sure. And I'm hoping that Mars is that. Not for me, but maybe for my kids, or maybe for my kids' kids. I'm not sure. You know, I don't know what this means, but I love the idea behind it though, man. I love the idea behind it. I love the idea behind of going somewhere else, something completely unknown and extraterrestrial. And I mean, I've never even traveled outside of the country. Well, Mexico, but that's, well, you know. And, you know, but to say that, you know, I've gone to Europe or anything like that, or Asia, or, you know, or Africa. No, man. Like, I got to do some exploring of my own planet first before I even fathom the idea of going to a different planet. That'd be crazy though, right? You know, you go to a different planet first before you've even completely explored your own planet or even traveled your planet. You know, if none of us go to Europe or Asia or Africa or Australia or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, if none of us go to any of these different continents or different countries before we even, the scenario that, you know, just play a scenario out with me, that before they even ask you, hey, you want to go to Mars? You know, that'd be kind of fucked up, honestly. But it is what it is, right? I mean, I just think some of us would be right on that ship, ready to go 6 months down the road. But I think I've got to do some traveling first. And I think that would maybe fulfill some of that desire and want and need to know more. To see something different than I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? So, and you know, man, you see all these pictures on Instagram, and you see some videos on TikTok and Google and whatever, you know, videos on YouTube of different places in the on our planet, and it looks crazy too. You know what I'm saying? Like, that looks crazy, that looks wild, but videos and pictures, I guess, I know for sure doesn't do it justice. You got to be there in person to see it with your own eyes and gather that information with your own perspective. And I think that's kind of the idea behind, you know, leaving Earth. You know what I'm saying? That's a crazy topic, man. Crazy topic. Side note, off topic. I think for me, one of the biggest goals is to see the pyramids of Giza, right? So I would want to go to Egypt at some point here soon, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to wait 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now to hit the pyramids at some point. I don't know what the world's going to look like then. I would like to hit the pyramids here soon. I'm not talking 2-3 months down the road, of course, but hell, man, it'd be nice to come into some money and maybe in a year or two, maybe 2 years, maybe that seems a little more likely. You know what I'm saying? 2 years, go to Egypt, see the pyramids with my own eyes, Man, that'd be one hell of a fucking thing to see. And to see that, I think for me, that'd be crazy, man. For me, I think that's definitely a goal for sure. Other than the Milky Way, other than visually seeing the Milky Way, I can go to Texas and do that, or I think there's a place in North Massachusetts or maybe Maine. I'm not even sure where. Not too far from me anyway. But I know a place in Texas for sure. And I mean, I can that seems a little more accessible, right? But the pyramids are definitely a goal for me. I think it's always been, and I don't know why, but I think I've always had this want to go to the pyramids and see the pyramids with my own eyes. That's definitely for sure a goal for me. Then next after that is Stonehenge. That's another big goal right there. I want to see Stonehenge with my own eyes and not just see them as a pile of rocks on a YouTube video. You know what I'm saying? Well, first off, I want to go to Europe. For me, Europe is the ultimate goal. And just to travel Europe. But the pyramids for sure. Africa would just be a great fucking continent to go to anyway. But man, you're talking. Yeah, that's those are personal goals of mine for sure. But yeah, full circle, man. Coming full circle. Yes, Mars. Yes, 6 months down the road, 6 months flight, 51 million miles away. Yes, I'd go. Yes, I'd go. Would you go? That's a conversation we can have. Would you go? Would you go to Mars? Maybe for some people you require more information. Oh, tell me a little more about this. Look, bro, not me. Okay, but still, me asking you, fucking person to person, would you go to Mars? I think that's a great question. That's a great question for sure. And I love having that conversation. I love having conversations about space in general. So let's talk, bro. Let's just do it. Let's talk. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You can follow me on YouTube, Why So Random, TikTok, Why So Random. Any podcast network you follow through, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Well, Apple Podcasts is taking a little bit. I think I gotta review it and do whatever. But I'm on Spotify, so that's a good one. I'm trying to see what other ones I can get onto. I know there's Google Podcasts and there is iHeartRadio and a bunch of other ones. I'll get on those platforms as well too. I don't know how many people even go to those. I know their main ones are Apple Podcast and Spotify. So maybe I'll just keep it on the. I don't know for sure. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't fucking know. I'm just talking into a mic and sending it out to the internet and sending it out to all my friends and family, and we're just talking, man. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just talking, right? So I don't know. It's fun. it's all right. I like it. So yeah, Why So Random? Welcome back to the podcast, guys. We'll be on episode 3. I'm not sure how often I'll post throughout a month because, I got to go through a couple loops just to get, 6 hours in. But it's a mess. Regardless, just follow, man. Subscribe on the channel. Hit follow on the podcast networks. Keep an eye out on my Twitter because that's where I'll post all the future episodes or the episode currently live. On my Facebook. Well, a lot of you guys don't follow. Facebook is a bad idea. Don't do Facebook. And just personal pictures on Instagram if y'all want to check that out. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed it.